Right. Alright, here we go. We have the factor Ostro VAM today. I've built this bike up last year for a friend of mine, so we basically swapped a whole bike onto this frame set right here. And the frame set itself is pretty interesting because it's of course an aero frame, pretty bulky, but it's pretty light in the hands. What is pretty special is the overall aero shapes, and then we have the really thin seat stays right here, which make this quite a special shape actually. And then we go on with the forks, who are pretty wide, so they let through a lot of air, which is aerodynamic of course. Also the fork and the frame in general make room for 32mm tires, so you can easily ride on gravel without any worries. Also the name Ostro actually is a wind that flows in the Mediterranean, so they actually thought about something in designing this frame and naming this frame. This right here is a 58cm size, so you can imagine the rider is rather tall, taller than me. Moving on with the frame set, we have a ceramic speed T47 bottom bracket. T47 of course a threaded standard that allows for a larger diameter axle. Right here we have adapters because we have a Shimano Ultegra 24mm axle. We also have a ceramic speed headset, and we have the SLT technology in there, which is pretty cool because you don't need to service it that quite often. Actually, Ceramic Speed says you don't need to service it at all, which is cool because the brake hoses run through it. So if you need to service it, it's pretty big work and also quite expensive. And what you get with the frame set is the seat post, which is also an aero seat post, D-shaped carbon fiber, pretty nice. Also the one-piece bar and stem cockpit comes with it from Black Ink, and in my opinion one of the most beautiful one-piece cockpits, and also one of the easiest to work with because you can run the cables through pretty easily, and that saves you quite a lot of time. And also the rest of the cockpit, including the spacers and the headset cap, pretty neat, pretty clean, so not beefy. So that's it for the frame. Actually pretty pared down, pretty simple and minimalistic. Moving on with the wheels, we have those Swiss side 450 all-round wheels with DT Swiss 240 hubs and the new Freehub technology from DT Swiss in the rear of course, which is pretty noisy. You can hear that in the end of that video, so stick around. We have some Continental 5000 tires on there, clincher actually with an inner tube. Then for the group set we have the latest Shimano Ultegra 12-speed, the i2. Awesome group set right here still, and despite the higher price, still a nice price-performance ratio in my opinion if you compare it to the Dura Ace 12-speed. Compact chain set in the front and 1134 in the rear. And of course the group set is not wired in the front, of course the brake hoses, but not the shift cables. So we have easier work in the front with the cockpit. Then we have the system wired in the rear, but which is not really of a hassle because you see those hefty beefy tubes. You can run through the shift cables pretty easily, so that's not really loads of work. Now what's quite interesting with this bicycle are the finishing touches and the little tuning bits that we have. Let's start with the handlebar tape. We have Silka handlebar tape, which I never wrapped before, but it's quite nicely to wrap. Also we have a nice grip without it being too sticky, so that should be quite a nice tape. We also have the Black Ink bottle cages that actually factor a sense with the frame set, but we swapped out the screws for some titanium ones, so that's pretty nice. Then we have this 3D printed Garmin light mount in the rear, and that's one of the most trick pieces of this bike, I believe, because it of course fits really snug around that seat post right here. Then we have the physique. Also that 3D printed saddle should be quite comfortable. And then the Silka saddlebag with the BOA closer system, pretty cool. Then what we added is this KH chain catcher. So in case the chain should come loose from the chain rings, there's the catcher that won't let it fall into the frame and damage and scratch up that beautiful frame. Then another little tuning kit that we were forced to add are actually two 5mm spacers right here, because Factor does not send enough spacers with this frame set. I don't know if it was just this one right here or if it's the case with every frame set they send out, but that's not enough at all. So all of the factory riders prepare to be quite slammed down if you only use the spacers that come with it. So we had to add those spacers right here. My friend had to sand them down to roughly get them into shape, but it's not too bad. Actually, it's quite neat, and it was necessary, of course. Also, we used the higher headset cap already. in order to get enough stack. So that would be a bit of a minus point for factor right here, for not sending enough spaces, because for the everyday recreational rider you can't just slam down at the cockpit. That would be too aggressive of a position, of course. Then we have Shimano Tegra road pedals, and I guess that will be it for this bicycle right here. If you have any more questions, leave them in the comment section below. And now prepare for the Freehub sound. Maybe you want to shield your ears. That's quite the Freehub right here. Personally, it would be too loud every time you freewheel during riding. Are you able to still understand your friend or not? Anyways guys, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.